Okay, this is the demonstration video for the NSDM maptools campaign, showing the updates I've made for the Cuban Missile Crisis at the request of Mark. For a complete tutorial on how to use maptools, see the link in the description, and please be certain to set this video to high definition when you're watching it in YouTube so that you'll be able to clearly read the text. For the Cuban Missile Crisis map, I hadn't heard yet what exact map areas you need, so for right now I've just got a basic inset showing generic missile ranges and then a map of Cuba. It's possible we'll need a larger map showing the various Caribbean islands, but that's for a later update. If we zoom in here, we can see the tokens I've created. I've added ICBM, intermediate, medium, short, and rocket artillery missile units, and I've also created mobile versions of all of those. I also added bunkers and trucks, although the numbers of trucks, bunkers, and personnel in each formation is basically guesswork at this point, so we may need to fix that later. I've added flags. We now have a Cuba flag, as well as red, green, gold, and purple flags for generic nations that we can just replace with a color because they're small enough not to worry about programming them in. And let's talk about some of the changes I've made and how the macros work. Start by placing some fixed medium-range ballistic missiles, squadron size, and we'll just scatter those there. F2 is still the same. You have to select a single token and then press F2. We'll call this an SS4. Squadron 1. I'm going to label it as a reserve unit because I can. National flag is Cuba. Then on the status tab, on the combat effectiveness, this needs to be a number from 0 to 100, and that will also link to a health bar now, which will show on the token. And I figure this will be a good way to show how stood up a unit is and how ready it is to perform. I'm setting that to 20. Notes, anyone can see. Private, owner and the GM can see. GM only the GM can see. There's also a special munitions flag now, which I'm going to set to nuclear. Currently, anybody who can see the token at all can see the special munitions flag on it. There is a way to change that. I'll cover that later. Now if I zoom in, this green and black health bar shows at 20%. The health bar can be a little bit difficult to see since it's so small. There are some changes you can make to that in the campaign, and if necessary I can do an entirely new, larger health bar. This is just the default that comes with maptools because I've only been working on this so far today, so I didn't have time to do a more perfect version. The nuclear symbol is in the left corner. That flag can theoretically be added to any unit. This is a reserve unit. Pretty standard. Then I'll hit F3, which is the same as F2. It just starts on the status tab instead. Let's make this unit 40%, and it'll be biological. So, I may need to update that macro. Yeah, I need to fix that macro. Oh well. This is a prototype version I just threw together today, so there are a few bugs that I'll have to fix once I get feedback. This is just basically a proof of concept for now. see other things. I've also added a missile yield function. For this one, you can highlight multiple units. You don't have to select a single one. And if you press F4, that will ask you for number of missiles, warhead yield per missile, and the range of the unit. So the default range for an MRBM is 2,000 kilometers, 1 to 2 megatons. And if I hit F4 again, let's make range 2,500 kilometers, yield 8 megatons, and missiles will still be 12 per squadron. And it updated that change to all of the tokens I had selected. You can also do it with the health bar. If you hit F5 to change the health bar with multiple units selected, and I set it to 80%, all of these units now show 80% readiness, because I had all of those highlighted when I ran that macro. Alright, now some of the changes you can make are the health bar. You can change the position on the token where it is, and you can also change whether the nuclear, biological, and chemical flags are readily visible. So if you go to File, Edit, Campaign Properties, and if you go to the Bars tab, this is the health icon, and we can change the thickness of the bar up to a maximum of 10. We can also change what side it is on, so I'm going to set it to the right side, and then click Update. And that just moved all of those readiness bars to the right and made them slightly thicker. You can add your own custom images to completely replace the bars, but like I said, I didn't have time to do that today. You can also change these nuclear biological symbols. Again, that's Edit, Campaign Properties, and we go to States, and the first three are chemical, nuclear, biological. Right now, everybody can see them. If you unclick everybody else, only the GM and owner can see that. However, that means that applies to all symbols on all units that are chemical, nuclear, biological. You can't have some units that are marked as nuclear and visible as nuclear, and some units which are marked as nuclear and not visible, using that system. What you can do is if you mark a unit, you have to use F2, but if you check the stealth option, that just set this unit to be stealthed, and now only Cuban units can see that unit at all. No one else can see it. Let's see. Covered the notes. For an example, I have the USA player logged in on a different computer. So right now you can see the way we have this set up at the moment. We can see, as the GM or as Cuba, we can see the nuclear symbol, but we can't see it as the US. And that unit above it is stealthed, and that can't be seen at all by the United States. Also, Cuban units that are stealthed cannot be seen by Soviet players who are logged in as the Soviets. If you need that to be changed, I probably can do it so that Cuba and Soviet can reliably see each other, but that makes the game more complicated, so one step at a time. Let's see. Other changes. I think those are all the important changes I've made for the Cuban Missile Crisis specifically. Obviously, all of these new units and options can also be used in a modern game, now that I've added them in. And before I continue to update this and make further changes, I'll just need feedback showing what you think I've done right or done wrong, and I'll polish up another version in a few days or a week. And thank you for watching, and that concludes this tutorial video, and please remember to watch the original one I created, which is much longer and more detailed.